Yeah. All right. Welcome to the Profiting from Your Passion podcast. I'm David Wooten, and today I have a good friend with me, Kent Sonnier, and we're going to talk about how Kent has turned passion into his profit in his life. To start this podcast, I gave Kent the reading from the excerpt from Amazon on Grant's book, Profiting from Your Passion. And he read it. Let me read it to y'all real quick. We all have it in us, an innate desire, a passion for something. Usually that something comes in the form of a hobby like golf, art, or collecting. All things that cost us money, at least usually. Chances are your passion found you. It wasn't something you sought after, so you never questioned how it came to pass. What if we could hack that process to produce the same sort of zest for our everyday jobs? And that's what the book explores. But we're going to explore it a little bit today, because when I gave just that write-up to Kent, he's like, man, this defines me. This is right on with who I am. So without a whole lot of introduction, we have Kent Sonnier here. He works with Duce Services, but he's a good friend of mine. And Kent, so tell me, how did that hit you?
Well, I mean, it's my testimony, man. That's, a lot of people don't know me out there, so I'm going to kind of give a little explanation of who I am. I'm a general manager for a disaster restoration company. I also am a DJ on the side. I started Kings of Karaoke with a group of guys. We're going on 9 years now. I don't do the shows. My business partner still does them, but I DJ for weddings, parties. I did a pool party for some, 16-year-old kids this weekend. I enjoy it. I have a great time playing music for people.
So sure you're not a DJ and restoration pro on the side?
Well, I use the same vehicle for both jobs. So no, it's funny because, when I go into a situation where I'm DJing for someone, I also sell the restoration. And I also want to make sure that the value that they got out of me DJing for their party and everybody has a good time. And I want them to know that I would also bring that in my professional world as a disaster restoration restorer. So it's always been in my nature to sell myself to people. I want them to be able to trust me. I want them to know that everything that I do, I'm very passionate about. If I don't really care about it, I'm not going to do it. So if I'm doing it, know that I'm passionate about it,
So when you first read it, you told me you did just that. You took a hobby and turned it into a business.
Yeah.
Which one of those were you talking about? How did that work?
When I had first decided that I was going to buy a Mac computer, 2009, which is kind of a weird little story, but I lost the roof on my house in Gustav, and that actually kicked off the restoration business for Doucette Services. Doing the restoration work on my house, Chuck Doucette learned, the value of drying and restoring woods. So that process actually kicked off the restoration division of Doucette Services. So with that being said, I bought the Mac computer when we rebuilt the house, and I started doing. I downloaded a version of Photoshop. Started doing graphics. Embraced it. Really loved it. Decided I was going to go to school to learn how to become a graphic designer.
So about how old were you at this time?
This was 2011, so I'm 43 now. I don't do math because I'm an artist.
It's about 10 years ago.
About
33.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. So I decided to go. I went to SLCC. I took a graphic communications class. From there, I met the guys that would introduce me to the Kings of Karaoke business partners. We were filming a movie. got into video editing, loved it. All part of the ride,
Right.
It was one little passion that snowballed into a few events that took place that brought on the introduction of Kings of Karaoke. I was a graphic design artist, so I actually made the logo, started the Facebook page, and then we became the product that Kings of Karaoke is. So one day I walked into Chuck Doucette's office, really great friend of mine, went to high school together. We are godparents to each other's kids. He said, "Hey man, I need a project manager." And I was like, "A project manager?" He's like, "Yeah." He says, I said, "Well, I'll talk to somebody." He's like, "No, fool, I want you to come to work for me." So I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, kind of explain to me what this project management." I said, "I borrowed your table saw and dang near cut my finger off." He's like, "Well, you won't be doing none of that." He says, "But I need you, to help grow this business. We got this restoration business now, and I need you to be able to run the crews and organize jobs and do all of this stuff." And I said, "Okay, great. I'll give it a shot, man." And that was a little over 3 years now that I'm working for him. And that all started, because he was like, "I saw what you did with the Kings of Karaoke stuff. Y'all grew that business out of nothing. Here I am trying to grow this business out of nothing. I need your help." So came to work, and I've made it a part. I mean, they even write the checks to me. The customers write checks to me sometimes because they think I own the place, but I don't. I'm just a part of a great organization.
Oh, that's selling yourself short a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm
just an average Joe, man.
I'm just I think the problem is most average Joes are can be more than they think as well. We want to count ourselves down, right?
Yeah, I guess it's because you get tired, man. You get tired of all putting in 110%, and even that's not a thing, but always putting that 100% in, and then a little more, and then I still DJ on the side, and I run a construction company during the day, and disaster restoration, 24-hour call. But because I'm passionate about everything that I do, I like this stuff.
Well, and that's what I want to ask you, because I think anybody could see the creativity passion that goes into DJing, setting that up, especially when you're dealing with different types of customers, from a teenage pool party to a wedding to, which might be a much more conservative thing.
I've done retirement parties. I've done Christian parties.
So how does that passion flow into making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be, which is the primary job of project manager?
That has a lot to do with it. I mean, I can see, I can get a vision of what needs to happen. I can get a vision of what troubles we may run into. I can try my best to combat all of that stuff ahead of time. Usually, average job, they with jobs, scheduling someone, I probably have 15, 16 employees that I have to make sure that they're going to be where they need to be. They're going to have what they need to do the job that they're going to do. Make sure that they get there on time. Make sure that if they don't get there on time, that they have the telephone number to call the customer or to call me. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's just like DJing for a party. If you don't see the people dancing, they're not happy. You're not doing your job. If the customers aren't leaving you reviews and stuff like that, then you're not doing your job. So we're out there making people dance.
There you go. I like that.
All I do is make people dance all the time, man. But no, I mean, I'm really passionate about helping people, and disaster restoration is we're helping people. That's all that people can
so beyond the paycheck,
to
the family, to everything you do in your daily walk, having that passion about helping people dance, right? Helping them do what they need to do. so they can live a better life. How does that pay off for you beyond the paycheck?
Beyond the paycheck, I sleep well at night.
Man, that's a huge deal, right?
It is.
How many people you know don't?
A lot. Yeah. And there's seasons in my life where I don't sleep well because of, just stress. But for the most part, it's been a very unusual couple of years recently. Just per se, I'm glad that I was in the disaster restoration business because I couldn't DJ for a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because all of the clubs were closed, all of the halls were closed, So balancing that, not having my release actually helped me figure out a little more time to spend with the family, but it still kept me grounded and kept me responsible for my job, because I'm passionate about all this, If anybody knows me, they meet me, I know a bunch of stuff about mold, and I'm very passionate about telling people about it because
everybody loves hearing about mold, right?
When I was a kid, my parents tried to kill me. No, we had poor education about the mold species that we were living with,
Right.
So anyway, I had allergies as a kid, and I still resent my parents for it.
Yeah, sometimes I know I've had this. Does that run into sometimes a customer going, "Oh, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. I don't need to spend the money on that."
Or it's when you get an adjuster telling a homeowner that, "Oh, that's the green mold. It's not as bad as the black mold." It's all the same thing. It's all mold, man. It's not good for you.
It's not.
You shouldn't have it.
Well, I've got a lot of allergies.
Yeah.
Right. So, there are certain molds that they're bad for everybody, but when they hit me, I know about it immediately.
Yeah, you break out with hives.
I get certain headaches and things. I know if there's Stachybotrys in the house and I walk in it, you may not be to smell it, but if you watch my eye, it starts twitching. I promise you it's there. It's weird. It's weird.
We got a job for you.
Right. You're going to hire me out. Although I just had sinus surgery, I'm not sure it's as bad. It's as prevalent as it was because I got some things. Anyway, that's a whole other subject.
A whole other story.
Okay. So how do you think, taking what you believe in, your faith, which is in whether it's spiritual, whether it's just in doing the right thing, as you've talked about, how does that impact those around you that you do work with and you don't work with?
Well, I probably don't walk quite as straight as I used to, but 2008, I gave my heart to Jesus, and I began a walk with Christ. And I've always asked, and sometimes it brings on quite a burden, but I've always asked for him to use me for good. And that's even my motto, is to use my powers for good. I always say that. I just want to use my powers for good, man. But since I've started on that walk and, welcome the possibilities of the miracles of God, and I've seen a lot of the things that have gone on through my life, like the introduction to all of these people and being a part of this great organization, helping people. Right. I mean, we've helped a little over 300 just for the hurricanes, Right. Really, it really impacted a lot of people to be out there and spread our expertise and rid people's house of the possibilities of mold and drying structures and stuff like that. But that was, it's always God used me however. And I've always took opportunities, even when I was DJing in the clubs, doing the karaoke shows, I would talk about God in a bar. I didn't have a problem with that. If I saw that he put it on my heart to talk to somebody, I would do it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So I've never given up on that. I don't attend church like I used to, but with that being said,
we'll flog you later.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it, man. I'll get on my knees after a while.
Yeah.
But you know, I've never lost track of the true meaning of the giver of life. I mean, he is given us everything that we could ever possibly want. We just have to open our minds and eyes to it. Right. That little things that happen in our daily lives are gifts from God. And I don't know.
Even some of the not so good things, I guess. Huh?
Well, absolutely, man. Yeah. No matter what it is that happens, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. It may not be the reason that you wanted. It may not be the your plan.
Yeah.
But it worked into his. Yeah. And you know, we could go into some of that milk and honey teaching, and then we can get really, really deep into it. But ultimately, I live my life that way. I'm thankful for everything that I do. I'm thankful for everything. Every day I wake up. I mean, I have to.
Oh, look, I think that's an important part of life. And I also love the fact that, you know, just meeting you and seeing you around, and I have a deep spiritual faith, right? I've got my faith is very, very important to me. However, I'm very put off by people that the first thing when I meet them is that they're just, you know, God all over me, right? Just pouring, you know, and it's like, whoa, hold on, can I get to the, and so in meeting you, in first meeting you, I wouldn't have said no way, but at the same time, I wouldn't have said, oh, that guy, you know. But what I love about what you just said was you have a motto. You know, last year when we went through a lot of changes with the company and everything, Davey and I decided we're going to write a purpose for the company. But before we could do that, we decided to write a purpose for our marriage. Uh-huh. And us, through God, our purpose is to help others achieve peace of mind. So if what we do in life, if what we have to make a decision on doesn't support us in doing that, we need to figure out how to push it out of the way. And, you know, and so what'd you say your motto was again?
It's use my powers for good.
Use my powers for good. So just that check. Do you ever do that? Do you ever kind of like self-check of, is this for good or not?
A lot. I do that a lot, David. I'll sit there mid-sentence. What the next thing am I going to be saying the right thing? You know, right. And I live that way, man. I do. I try to do good by everyone that I come across. It's hard. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes people don't understand your meaning for their life.
Your air quotes good.
Yeah. Right. They don't know about my good, you know. But it's just a fact. It's a fact that when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to harm anyone. That's not who I am. That's not what I want to be. Whenever I go back to bed at night, I want to say, man, I served every purpose today with a clear conscience, you know? So that's, I mean, it can get pretty deep, man.
It can get very deep. And look, this is going to go where it goes. And I don't necessarily want to get too deep in here. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you know, I know one of the consequences I get from trying to do that, right? From trying to be that person is that sometimes people will see that as I can take advantage of this guy. Yeah. Because you're saying that, I'm thinking, well, the person here, they go, oh, he just wants to do good. But doing good for others or helping others achieve peace of mind doesn't mean letting them walk all over me, right?
No, and I've had issues with certain people along my walk, and I'm always a cheery person. I like to introduce myself whenever I learned that a long time ago from a salesperson I knew, Mr. Harry Terrio. He'd always stick out his hand and say, hello, you know, Harry Terrio. And, you know, so I always introduce myself to people. And yes, I'm a very cheery person, but there's some demons in here too, you know, and I don't like being taken advantage of. I don't. But I'll easily forgive someone that takes advantage of me. I just, because I know that it's going to be good after that.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. Do for good and it's going to be good. I love that.
That's right.
I love that. It's so, you know, kid, do me a favor right now. Ask me about my book.
Hey, David. Tell me a little bit about your book, man.
Oh, thanks for asking me, Kent, because I promised Grant I wouldn't push my book unless somebody asked about it. So anyway, Meeting Homeless Jesus. Anyway, you've heard the story. I don't know if you've read the book in full yet, but I know you've heard the story.
I have heard the story.
And it's a lot about what you're talking about just going out, just trying to do good and seeing the miracles that happen, just observing.
Yeah.
And I think every day in life, you know, what you were talking about, every day in life, we see that when we go out and try to do the best we can. And, you know, to me, I believe when we love our neighbor, we're connecting with God. Even when the atheist loves his neighbor, he's connecting with God.
That's right.
And so when we love our neighbor and we watch what happens, to me, that's where the biggest profits come from, because there's more that happens out of just that action that I take as a result that I could ever account for, that I could personally pat myself on the back for. No way, not even close. So, and it sounds like that's a lot of, you know, how you see life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with you more on that. And the reason I'm just gonna say this because I was lost in what you said. Right.
Okay.
There, because it started making me think of some things. But anyway, I'm not gonna get into a whole bunch of it. But I met a man one time. He wasn't homeless Jesus, but he told me a couple of things about the way that he viewed people in certain scenarios throughout. Like he was a guy that worked downtown, and he would see people. I mean, I DJ'd in the clubs, you know what I mean? Right. Downtown Lafayette. So I had conversations with people outside of the bars at all hours of the night and stuff like that. But the guy was telling me how, because I'd asked him how he had, how he was an older guy. I was like, how did you find yourself living downtown? You know, and he just told me, he says, I made a lot of wrong decisions. He says, but I don't want to endanger the people in my life,
right,
with my decisions. So I just choose to live out here. And he was talking about how he would view all of these people going about their everyday life, and he would see the nasty that people would do to each other, and there would be some hollering and screaming and fighting. And he said, and then there was people that would, that were nice. They would do things that would please people, and he says, I could view all of this. I see it all day. It's like, like the way you watch TV at your house. This is what my entertainment is,
Right.
So anyway, that just, it brought that whole thing back up to me when you were talking about that. So
yeah, it's amazing what we can learn from people that we think maybe have nothing to give us.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, right. Man. Absolutely.
Just when we open up.
That's why I'll do that a lot too, man. I'll just start talking to somebody. I'm that type of person. I just carry conversations, man.
All right. Well, look, Kent, we're about time to wrap this up. Okay. But thank you very much. This was awesome. Yeah, I enjoyed it, and
me too. I can't wait. Is this going to be on album or no?
No,
just kidding.
It is going to be on the podcast. Okay, but let me let you do this. If people do need restoration services, how do they find you?
They can reach us at 337-210-1270. That's our 24-hour hotline for any emergency services. Or they can find us on the web at restorationprosla.com.
Okay. And we'll put that in the write-up for the podcast. So
awesome.
If people, want to look you up. If they need those services, I can't imagine they would want to, look anywhere else after hearing who you are. So thanks a lot. Appreciate you being here.
No problem, man.
Thank y'all for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.